Episode 3?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming, Derek. He's so hyped, man. He's a brother, if you know what that means. How you doing, Derek?
I'm great, man. Did you cut out? Don't cut out that intro. That was a dope intro. I mean,
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming out. So I think we're on episode 3, where we get to talk to other startup founders to learn more about what they do. Today we have Derek. We have Derek Canton from PaerPay. So first of all, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming out. So Derek, what do you do at PaerPay?
So PaerPay is a frictionless payment company
Yeah.
that allows you to walk into a restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
sit down and eat, and just get up and walk out. So we're simplifying the payment process for merchants
Okay.
as well as consumers.
Lovely, lovely, nice. So how does it work?
So from the user side, you
Yeah.
download a mobile app,
Yeah.
you walk into a restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
you scan a code that's directly at your table,
Yeah.
and we call this our virtual handshake.
Okay.
We're able to identify who you are,
Mhm.
where you're at,
Mhm.
and because of our point-of-sale system integration,
Mm-hmm.
we're able to directly send the bill information from the restaurant to your phone.
Lovely, lovely.
And as soon as you're done eating, like an Uber experience, you just get up and walk away. And we're able to charge your card, send the payment directly to the merchant, and you're good to go.
How do you guys figure out like when they walk away? Like how do you guys do that?
So there's a couple really cool things. So
Mhm.
we use a combination of technologies from geofencing to timing out and to be able to allow the payment to be able to go through.
Yeah.
But we also do have a physical pay button in
Mhm.
the app as well too. So
Got it.
some people want to actually like physically hit pay.
Yep.
We enable that as well too.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, that's great. So I think, I've known you since the start of Mass Challenge, which was last year, and I think you've been, not that I think, you've actually been a great resource, good friend, good partner to me. I know you want us to work together, maybe in the future, but, what are you not too sure about is, really, why did you do this? Like, I have my own story as to why I started TripBuddy. Like, I want to hear yours. Like, why the hell did you do this?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a story. So before PaerPay, I was working at Dell EMC.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the EMC side of things,
Yeah.
Working for the hybrid cloud organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been a tinkerer into projects, doing things on the side.
Yeah.
So when I graduated college, I had my first business, closed it down, and got accepted into the marketing development rotational
Yeah.
program at
Mhm.
EMC. And it was an incredible program. I learned a lot, but
Mhm.
in my free time, I wanted to learn something new.
Mhm.
I wanted to learn more about product design, product development,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
So with my background, I'm self-taught in graphic design. I just started designing apps
Mhm.
and coming up with ideas in my free time.
Nice.
Actually got a few people who saw my designs and said, hey, I will pay you to design my app.
Nice.
Started a consulting business, and I was actually recruiting for Dell EMC at Babson College.
Oh, nice.
Met-
Lovely.
Yeah, so I met a handful of students there. After hours, we met up, and they said they're going to this hackathon in Las Vegas.
Really?
Called Money 2020.
Wow.
And they didn't know what they were building. I said, well, I had this app idea that I'm kicking around. Maybe we can figure something out and make it work. And within 24 hours of meeting some strangers, I bought a non-refundable ticket to go to Las Vegas.
Wow.
Mom thought it was a little bit crazy, but I was like, hey, like it'll be all right. It's either going to work really, really well, or we'll laugh about it in a couple of years.
Wow.
And so got to Vegas, pretty much didn't have a hotel room. Slept on the floor in the Venetian.
Of course.
Didn't have a ticket for the hackathon.
Of course.
Hustled my way into the hackathon. And then basically my background being non-technical, I designed and architected the solution.
Mhm.
And then I actually did the user experience design.
Mm-hmm.
And then I gave it to these 4 other engineers who
Okay.
built it.
From Babson?
From Babson, yep.
Nice, nice.
And while they built it, I went up and down the Las Vegas Strip and took my product design
Yeah.
and started like selling it to restaurants.
Nice.
And got like some videos of some of these restaurants saying like, yeah, I would totally use this. Like one of the restaurants we went to was Guy Fieri's restaurant.
Oh, really?
Which is pretty cool.
Nice.
And managers all excited about it. And so basically, while I was doing this, they built the product. When it came time to pitch, I got in front of, it was the first group we pitched with was First Data,
Yeah.
big payment company. We came in first place with First Data.
Nice.
And they moved us to the final round, and then we pitched with a huge auditorium of people, and down the Venetian. It was wild. And ended up coming in second place overall.
Nice,
And so of
nice.
course we got the big check.
Of
Which
course.
was cool.
Of course.
Um,
What, you still have the check?
Yeah.
Nice. Where is it in the apartment?
No, it's back at the parents' house.
Oh, I see.
And so.
Did you fly the check in from Vegas to Massachusetts?
Yeah, of course.
How was it? Like taking it on the plane? Like.
Yeah, it's actually funny. It was like it was actually a big coin, like
Okay.
kind of like Bitcoin. And
Okay.
they would write the dollar amount on it.
Got it, got it.
try bringing to the bank the cash that I'm putting.
Did they give you a hard time through customs and stuff like that? Like, what the hell is this big check?
Yeah, it worked out.
Nice,
Everything
nice,
worked out. So basically won the hackathon, came back and got some validation, met with like some industry leaders, met with Toast, met with Legal Seafoods, and talked to a couple restaurants and said, hey, I have this idea. They said, hey, this is cool. And I said, great. Well, I'm gonna go build it. And so I designed the entire solution without actually writing code, so I could actually prototype it and stuff like that. And then we raised our first round of capital, put together a group of engineers to be able to build it out.
Nice.
And then while they were building it, I did the same thing. I went out and started selling it. Signed up a large restaurant group out in the Worcester area.
Nice.
That we've been piloting with now.
Nice.
At the same time, I was at Dell EMC and doing consulting, so I had 3 jobs essentially: my day job, my side hustle, consulting, and then the startup idea.
Crazy.
So I didn't really sleep. Actually, there were probably about 4 to 5 times I remember specifically, like coming home from work, like eating food, start working on my side hustle stuff at like 6 o'clock, and legitimately working for 10 hours straight on it, and then like showering and going to work the next day.
That's crazy.
So yeah.
I did something like that, but not to that extent. I definitely made sure that I had some sleep. So I think for me, it was, I get home from work. I used to be a software engineer at Sophos, as you already know. So for me, the way it worked was I get home at work. I was such in a hurry to get home. You get home and it's like, all right, I'm going to fuck around and eat dinner for like an hour. And then I'm just back at work and, sleeping at 2 o'clock. I made sure I had to sleep though. That's definitely important. So I think we can resonate well with that. But there's something that really struck me, right? Usually they said entrepreneurs find problems and then they solve it, right? That was the case of ours. I freaking hated my commute. That was why we built Trip Buddy. Also, I was speaking to Ricky last week and he said, sometimes there's a change in legislation, right? Or opportunities arise and you tackle it with problems, right? Maybe you might not even be thinking about it a lot, but the fact that, let's say, the legal system has changed a little bit, opened up the market for people to jump in, then you go in. But so for you, it was just a hackathon idea, just like that?
Yeah, well, I was kicking around a few other things,
Okay.
and of course I did a bunch of research and stuff like that. Right? I knew that fintech was hot.
Okay.
I knew that I wanted to be in the payments area. I knew I had expertise with user experiences, and I thought it would be super cool.
Yeah.
And that's really how it kind of started. And I'm a big foodie, so I've had the frustration of going out to eat and been stuck waiting for the check and that whole pain point. And so I was like, this would be interesting if we could solve it, right? And so going from a hackathon winning product to a scalable business are 2 very different challenges, right? Of course. And so the physical product, the solution has changed and evolved since the hackathon. But did a bunch of research to make sure that we're addressing the right problem and validated where we were. So I think it was a little bit of preparation meaning opportunity, right? And just struck with the iron was hot and figured it out, and been hustling ever since.
Nice, that's good. It's a lot of work, and I can definitely relate to that. Do you guys have any questions? I'm gonna open up the floor, but I'm gonna ask more questions. But if you guys have any,
how'd you choose the name?
Yeah, how did you choose the name?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One of the biggest things was originally we were using beacons, and so with beacons you pair, kind of like connecting them, and so it's kind of a play on that. Secondly, I wanted to be able to get a word that had no other connotation at all with it, and so for trademark reason, together.com. And so I was kicking around a bunch of names, and so PaerPay was one that just stuck,
Nice.
So yeah.
How long did it take you to figure out a name?
Oh my goodness, too long.
Too long. Okay.
Too long.
Because I tried to start a company a while ago with a few friends, and I believe we spent more time trying to figure out the name than actually building the product. That when I started Trip Buddy, I was like, that's not gonna be the problem. Whatever comes into my mind, that's what I'm gonna do with. So because the most important thing, you gotta work on the product, right? You can't spend the whole freaking year trying to figure out a name for what the company is. But
yeah, so Toast, multi-billion-dollar point-of-sale system company. Toast was supposed to be a placeholder name, and they just never changed it.
Yeah, Toast.
Yeah.
Interested. So you are a non-technical guy, right?
Correct.
Your design work is phenomenal. You have the vision of the company, which is great. But how are you doing it? Because sometimes it's hard to communicate with people like myself, right? How are you able to get your message and making sure that exactly what you want them to build is really what they're building? How does that work?
Yeah, so I do have experience working with engineers.
Okay.
And I've taken a few development courses just to understand the thought process of it. So that has helped a little bit, but I think what my superpower is I tell people I'm a storyteller.
Okay.
If you get people to buy into the vision, right, whether it be for a specific feature or the experience, I let that be the guiding force. I also have some really great advisors around me who are very technical and have helped through that transition process. But basically, like with the first engineers when we first started working with them, I designed the entire app itself, right? So every feature, functionality, paying, splitting, all that stuff, I designed the actual experience on the phone, right? Fully animated, all that stuff. And so I literally was just like, build this, right? When someone says, how does this feature look or feel like, right? I'm like, well, here, I'll mock it up for you. I'll show you exactly how it's supposed to look. Yeah, so that's helped a lot.
No, I think that's actually really, really powerful because as an engineer, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate over here, is I can just tell you, go build this, right? But if you told me exactly what to build, it is so much easier. It makes the job, I don't have to worry about what happens when I click A or what happens when I do this. So I definitely do think probably one of the things that really accelerated the development of your platform. Now, in terms of product, where are you guys? Like, are you guys live? I mean, where are you?
Yeah. So one last comment to add. So I heard a quote. I forgot who told this. This might have been my old boss, or maybe it was a podcast. But one of the things they talked about was delegate the result, not the process, right? So, for example, if I want to make a cake, right? And I said, I need you to go do this, and step by step by step. You actually are missing out on opportunity for innovation, right? Versus I said, hey, go make a cake, right? At the end of the day, I'm delegating the experience, and the experience is I want a really damn good cake, right? And however you get to there, we'll figure it out, kind of thing. And I think that mentality of delegating the experience through the storytelling helps with figuring out the right path. Because again, being non-technical, if I said, hey, go look up this API and use this and plug in with that, and it might not be the optimal solution. Of course. But delegating the result, I think, is more important.
Yeah, no, I think that's important. I actually tell my team that a lot, right? Today we're talking about copy on a project that we're working on. Like, look, you gotta figure it out, right? I'm looking at Walker right now because this is exactly what I told him, right? Where I'm not gonna tell you exactly what I want, right? But you know the vision. You know what we're trying to get to. So you leave it up to people to actually come up with the solution that is really gonna look good. So, but then I guess back to my question, like, where's the product? Where are you? Are you live? Or do you have anything?
So you have an iPhone or an Android.
Oh my God!
You go to the App Store, search PaerPay, PaerPay. You can download our app.
The only person on our podcast, on our happy hour show to throw a plug in, but sure, you guys can do it if you want.
So the app is not generally available yet.
Okay.
We're running a pilot now with a restaurant group out towards Worcester, but our app is available. And so right now, we had our first go live with the restaurant back in March.
I remember that.
And we have our next one coming up on Monday, which we're really excited about.
Nice.
And so now it's interesting. So in the startup world, there's this perception of you go fast, right? As fast as you can and too fast as you can. But one of my advisors told me, he says, if you want to go fast, go slow. And what he meant by that is a lot of times people will sprint, but they end up sprinting in the wrong direction. And since our product is not generally available yet, now's the time that we have the ability to go slow and go really, really deep with our customers, right? And so before we are trying to get 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 restaurants on a platform, I'm like, if we just get 3 or 5 and get those to work really, 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 really well, then we can scale that, right? And once we're live, then we're live. You can never go back,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. No, I agree with that, and that's some approach that we're also going after, right? And I think I told you, because you shared a link with me about the Mass Challenge then, right? Where you want to make sure that you're committed and you want to make sure that you're doing something really, really well, because you can just try and launch everywhere and fail everywhere, right? Versus, you focusing on, for your case, 1 restaurant or 2 or 3 restaurants, and really, really making sure that you work out all your kins and you're executing to your highest potential. So definitely, I think that's something that I do agree with, and I resonate well with that. Excuse me. So I guess the next question that I do have for you is revenue model. Actually, did I think I did not ask Food for All, but I usually ask people that because it's a hard thing to figure out. We've never sold before. You don't, yeah, sure, you know how much your competitors are charging, but you don't like. If I told you to come up with a revenue model, you most likely are making that based on some numbers that you put in. Like, how much are you like? How are you coming up with a price to charge a restaurant? Or like whoever you're charging, like your users, so whoever you're charging, how are you coming up with the numbers?
Yeah, so I think of it. Of course, there's a million ways you can come up with a business model. Of course, right? You can get creative. What I focus more on is how do we quantify the value that we're providing to the merchant, right? Yeah. If I went to a merchant and said, hey, quantifiably, we will give you $100 back for every $50 you put in, right? They're like, oh, cool, that makes sense, right? As long as you can quantify the value that you're providing, charging them is going to be easy. And so we do have a model and idea that we believe will work well. And of course, we've kind of tested a little bit. But our number one focus right now isn't around how quickly can we get these restaurants paying. It's how quickly can we get these restaurants loving our product and excited about it and passionate about it and saying we need this, right? And then being advocates and building case studies around it, right? And if we do that and they love our product, then the money's going to come, of course. And then we would be as flexible or creative as we need to be. For us, we were targeting mid-sized restaurant groups and larger groups, and so we would do some type of economies of scale where if we get more restaurants at a time, we'll give them a pricing discount. And so how I think about it is, if I'm the merchant, like, how would I want to be sold, right? How would I want someone to come to me? And a lot of times people show up and say, hey, asking for money, right? Hey, I got this cool thing, now give me money, right? And for us, again, like, some of these, yeah, exactly, like, show the value, right? Like, are you doing what you say you're gonna do? And are you proven yet, right? And so for us, there are some of the merchants that we're looking at where we're doing strategic discounts or free trials for some of these earlier ones, because I'm like, hey, candidly, like, I want you to be my guinea pig, right? And I've spoken with companies larger companies who have not been successful. And they said that early on they tried charging their customers, and some of them were paying. But a lot of things didn't work because they were guinea pigs, and they ended up being more frustrated. And so for me right now, as I'm talking with customers, I actually use the terminology partners. I said, hey, we're looking for merchants that are partnering with us to help us to one, I want to candidly understand their frustrations and their pain point, because for us, we're still in product market fit, right? I've done a lot of research, I've spoken to a lot of merchants, so I understand some of the problems that they're having, but the deeper you go, the more layers you uncover. And so we want to make sure that we're addressing and solving the biggest problem that they're facing. And the only way we can do that is by going deep with these merchants. And that's why I've been focusing on this idea of partnership, because as I'm working with them, it's, hey, like, this is what we're thinking about doing for our financial model. Like, how do you feel about this, right? And if they're loving our product and say, hey, we'll pay for that, right? Because we can, again, quantify and see the value they bring to these merchants. And so that's kind of, long-winded, but that's kind of my thought around the business model, is that if you build a great product that people love, the business model will really build itself.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think something that you did mention, that, you got to make sure that you have that early relationship with them, right? You got to make sure that they understand, they get your product very well before you can start billing them or before you start charging them. I think that's something definitely valuable to any startup that wants to do just kind of this.
Yeah, just another plug on that too is I actually think that it's a better sell to get in front of customers if you're not selling, right? So
we do that all the time.
Yeah, even just in the past week, I mean, I've gotten in front of some I can't actually tell you guys who they are, but there's some really, really big name chain restaurants that if I dropped a name, you'd be like, oh my gosh, right? And a more longer.
Can I guess Legal Seafood?
Oh no, significantly bigger.
Oh, okay.
Like significantly bigger. Maybe I'll tell you offline.
Right. Internet, he doesn't want you guys to hear it.
And how I got in front of these players, it's just, hey, it was an introduction. It's, hey, I'm not looking to sell, but like, what frustration are you having, right? What are you doing? And then at the end of the conversation, I say, hey, well, I'd love to continue to keep you updated, get some feedback, understand your pain points. And through our conversations, and they expressed their frustrations, I said, oh, that's cool. We're actually working to solve this problem by Y. And it was cool because they said, oh, well, we would love to be able to pull that as an API and actually plug it into our software, which I'm like, yeah, we can do that, right?
Nice.
But again, that wasn't me just showing up saying, hey, let me sell you on your problems. It's like, let me actually understand what you're going through.
Exactly.
And make it happen, you know?
Right. I think that's something that we struggled with earlier, where we were just going out there to get the money without really understanding the pinpoints of our customers very well. But something that we've learned is you gotta get people talking, right? If you're not talking, they don't give a shit about what you have to sell. So something that I definitely can agree with, and that for me I can resonate with. Doing this thing sucks, right? Especially when you're early stage, not a lot of revenue is coming in. What keeps you going? Like, why do you even come into the office every day? Like, why?
Honestly, Tahid, it's because I get to see your face.
Oh.
So what keeps me?
That's why everybody else comes in here.
So I mean, there's a couple things. I mean, candidly, I love what I do.
Okay.
Right. I mean, like corporate life, the salary was great, you know, but like candidly, I love what I do. Right. You know, the experience of being a self-starter, solving a problem, you know, my network has expanded exponentially as a result of it.
Actually, I'm not even thinking about that, but that's my network too. Like, I know you now.
Yeah,
no, exactly.
Like, it's funny. I remember when I first started working at EMC, and I would see like a VP or a director, and I'm like, oh my god, that's da. And I remember a few times I saw Michael Dell, like, oh my god, that's Michael Dell, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But now I work with like C-suite executives on a regular basis. Like that's like normal for me, right?
That's true. Like if you think about it, that's true. Like when I used to work as well at Sophos or at Oracle, and never got the chance to do a demo. I was just in the back room for the software engineers sitting in this room. I was just in the back room. I was just slinging away codes on a day-to-day basis, but I never got the chance to actually go out there and go sell the product that we built, right?
Yep.
Like, it's like mind blowing to think about the people that we're talking to. Like we went, like a few days ago at MIT. It's like, what the hell? Like we're here. Like they want to see the deck that we prepared. Like that's huge, you know. So that's something I also cherish a lot.
Yeah, it's a cool feeling, and of course, you know, I always know that if I ever need to go and like if things really go bad, I can go and get a job pretty easily.
Yeah.
I'm not stressed about that, and also. Like now's the time for me to do it. Like,
of course.
I have no kids. You know, I don't have a car payment.
Yeah,
you know, like there's my personal job is just keep me alive. As long as I stay alive, I'm good to go. Right. That's it. And then I just need to get my butt in the office and then just grind. Right. And you know, there'll be a point in my life where I wouldn't be able to do that because I have more commitment.
Yeah.
Like I'm young. Now's the time for me to hustle the most. I have the most energy and learning as much as I can. And like I said, I've met some incredible people. Right. I mean. It's that's what it is, you know, and you know, I think it's cliche. People say sometimes your net worth is your network kind of thing. I do think that there's some validity there of just, you know, opportunities come when you're meeting new people, and so I think it's like I mentioned earlier, it's opportunity meeting preparation, right? So. I'm just hustling day in and but again, I love what I do, and we're solving a problem, and the fact that we have measurable growth, I think is very important, right? Nice. If I was just sitting back and, you know, hustling and there's nothing to show for it, right? You have to make a decision. Okay, well, when's the point where I'm going to move on?
Exactly.
But as long as we're continuing to set goals and accomplish those goals, and do it in a way that, you know, builds the brand and continues to grow the business, and then also I'm personally growing.
Of course.
I think that's very, very valuable, and because of the stuff I'm doing, you know, I'm a more public figure than I was when I was just working at EMC, right? And so
it's crazy. I mean, you know, we all have hard days, right? I think what you just said is actually really powerful. Like, whenever I have hard days, I should actually start looking at the things that we've accomplished, like all the people that we know now. You know, and I'm gonna say this, like, there's this lady that I'm working with in Indiana to do some stuff for a family member back in Ghana, and she did a Google search of me, right? And she was just blown away. Like, I was like, wow, okay, that's cool.
I mean, who isn't blown away by
you? You know, she did a Google search of, you know, who I was, and it was like, you know, if I wasn't doing TrickBuddy, I would have been just a software engineer that nobody knew who he was or what he was doing. He was just shipping code that was just a fraction of the bigger product, you know. So definitely something that we can all be happy about, and, you know, on hard days we can always think about that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, that's only like 5% of your job, right? like I've spoken to people, they'll see the awards and the accolades and the, you know, the cool videos, right? And like, man, I want that. Like, man, that's only like 5% of what actually happens as an entrepreneur. I mean, 80% of the stuff is you're doing the unsexy stuff, man, right?
The
like
dirty work,
the financials, the stuff that you don't love doing.
Yeah.
If candidly, like, you're juggling everything, right?
Yeah,
and if you drop one thing, then you fail, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you have to constantly be juggling. And I've learned, I've personally grown a lot, and I understand what it means to run an organization, manage people, hire people. You know, like, it's just, I'm constantly learning. And I think the more I learn, the realize how little I actually know.
Exactly.
So it's a humbling process. And the thing, too, I tell people is, like, entrepreneurship is so addicting. Like, I love what I do. And, you're in it.
Yeah, that's true. I cannot, I want to be here. Like, of course, I mean, you want to be here growing as a person. And I definitely, once you're an entrepreneur, I think you're always going to be an entrepreneur. I think if things don't end up working out, if you go get a job, I think there's something that is going to come out. I was talking to somebody, and like, something is going to pull you back again. You're definitely, as once an entrepreneur, you're always going to be there. Do you guys have questions? I've been like talking to them a lot.
When did you really get the itch to be an entrepreneur? Did
When
you
did-
always have it, or was there something like that really, light bulb flashed, and you really just had an idea and it set you on the path?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I have a love-hate relationship with this word entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I think it's overused, right?
Okay.
People who say, I want to be an entrepreneur, right? And almost like it's a job description.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I'm like, like you see someone who's like broke and like doesn't got a job, and they just say, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur," right? And I'm like, man, you just give me. It was actually kind of funny. I was at a concert a little while back, and I met a couple people there. And this girl asked me, she's like, "Oh, well, what do you do?" And I didn't want to go too deep. I said, "Oh, I have a payment company or whatever." So she's like, "Oh, so you're an entrepreneur," kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, kind of thing. So growing up, I've always been entrepreneurial, and what I mean by that is that I've always loved creating things and solving problems. Like, I remember growing up, I used to always love doing the lemonade stand, stuff like that.
Yeah.
My first real project that I did. For my home church, I built a bookstore, and that's how I learned how to do financials, how to design the whole brand for the bookstore. From there, I went on to designing and building the app for my church. So we have about 1,500 congregants. The app got over 10,000 downloads, which was pretty sweet.
Nice.
And I just loved the process of creating things. And I remember the first time I heard the word entrepreneur, someone called me it, and I actually didn't know what the word meant. And I used my context, this was back in high school. They said, I remember we were at Uno's, and they said, "Oh, Derek, you're such an entrepreneur. What are you up to these days?" And of course, your context clues, but like, I was like, oh, this is what I'm up to. And so I think it's just it's a mindset of like, I want to express myself.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, and
It's art.
It's art. And I just love creating stuff, right? Maybe to a fault,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes things don't need to be reinvented.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That was funny. We were watching Silicon Valley.
Oh, you watched Silicon Valley?
It's so funny rewatching it as I'm going through my startup, and there's this guy on it, and this is like the third episode,
Okay.
and he's talking about, he's like, man, like, I had this great idea, and I was trying to get VCs to buy in, and they wouldn't, and the main character's like, well, what is it? He's like, well, when you park your car, and you forget where you park, well, it's like an app that like allows you to find your car, and like, if you don't have like GPS or anything like that, like, it allows you to just record it. And the guy's like, so like Notepad, like you just wrote it down. He's like, yeah, exactly. You get it, man. You get it. He's like, well, wait.
Was it the episode with the guy in the grocery store?
Yeah, with the margarita.
I remember that.
And then long story short, the guy comes back because he has to return the margarita mixer, and then the guy at the grocery store is like, man, I told my mom that some billionaire likes my idea, and she remortgaged the house, and now I'm funded, right? Kind of thing.
That's gosh.
And so the point of the story, it's like, not everything needs to be reinvented.
Yeah.
And so, although my mind is always going, and I was, like, this would be cool, I think there's also a level of discipline that's required.
Of course.
To make a decision and make a sacrifice to be able to do something, pursue something, and but I think to answer your question, it's been a fun process of just learning, growing, and I think also there's a level of self-confidence that's required for it, because I know that before I was doing this, I won the first ever business competition at my university. Had an apparel company. We raised some money for it, and it went went okay. And long story short, it didn't work out. But I learned a lot from that process. And when I won this competition and when I applied for it, I didn't think I had the chops to run a business.
Yeah.
It was one of those things like you learn by doing versus learning how to do.
Right.
And so it was kind of funny because academic I was never really the strongest. In my freshman year of college, I didn't do super well. But when I started my business sophomore year and I won this competition, I went from like a C student to a straight A student. So I graduated with honors and all that stuff. And the reason why I ended up doing that was because I figured out what I loved doing. And so what I tell people is don't try and be an entrepreneur, right? Just do what you love.
Yeah.
And like if you do what you love, that will open doors. Because like with the whole hackathon thing, I mean that again, opportunity meets preparation, right? Like I kept learning and learning and learning, and this opportunity came up, and I'm like, yeah, like sure, I'll go to Vegas and we'll do this, right? And I always think, man, my life would be so different if I wasn't prepared or if I said no and I didn't go or whatever, right? Honestly, I'd probably still be working in a corporation, you know.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if corporation is within, there's nothing wrong with that. You should
agreed, 100%.
Yeah,
and like I've been miserable personally, right?
Likewise.
But because a lot of times you can be entrepreneurial and still work in an organization. And when I won the hackathon, I stayed at my job for another like year and a half afterwards. You know, it wasn't until this past year that I went full time for myself, right?
Yeah, just around the same time I also left.
Yeah, it's all about timing. Timing is critical, right?
Yeah.
And it's great to have energy. It's great to have passion. It's great to be all have all the zeal for an idea.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, there's a level of discipline. And one of my mentors told me, he said, everyone wants to be successful. But most of the time, success just means enduring more pain than the next person.
That's true.
Right.
True.
And that success is a choice, and you can see if people are choosing success based on their action.
That's
Because again, like I literally have a consulting business to pay for me to do my startup, right? And so it's how much do you really want it, and how much are you willing to endure, the pain of it, right? Because I mean, I have friends, driving cool cars and living the lifestyle and like it's flashy, it's cool.
For having an apartment in Seaport.
Yeah, and like it's like and it's cool and and of course there's a part of me that's like I'd love to have that lifestyle. Yeah. But again, like if I just doubled my rent, or actually that'd be like tripling my rent to move to Seaport. But like triple my rent and just started spending all this money on unnecessary things and ate out for every dinner. Like if I just started blowing cash, that wouldn't allow me to be more sustainable, right?
Of course.
And so that's why I say there's a level of discipline that's required because again, back to the point I was making, is being successful really means enduring more pain than the next person.
I couldn't agree more than that. It's like right on the money. Anthony, I'm looking at you. You have a question for Derek?
Oh, yeah, sure. So you said you had to balance like your corporate job and like work at the startup, right? Was there like a point where you decided like, okay, it's time to quit my job and now I'll just fully jump into the deep end?
Yeah, there was a point. So the point that I decided to jump was Mass Challenge.
Likewise.
Yeah, that was the point for me.
Same here.
I said, hey, I want to be in this accelerated program. And I was actually talking to the former director, Kiki, at Mass Challenge. And she was telling me, some people do this while working a full-time job or whatever. But I'm like, if I'm going to do this and have an opportunity to be part of one of the largest accelerator programs in the world, very reputable program, like, I want to be all in on this thing. And so that mentality of like, hey, like, this is it. And it's actually kind of funny because it worked out really, really well. I was actually planning on putting my 2 weeks notice in if I got accepted into the program. But I purposely tried to stay on a team that was going to get downside with our acquisition. Yeah. And so I got a golden parachute actually, which worked out really well. So I got laid off, which was like perfect.
I wish I did.
Yeah.
Because if you get laid off, you get severance, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it actually worked out really, really well. So I mean, again, preparation opportunity, divine timing. So like, so thankful everything worked out. Or it gave me the ability to step away, to be able to do this full time. And so basically, like, I moved straight to Boston, live in Chelsea now, and was like, I'm all in on this thing, right? Yeah. Being in the program, being in Boston, like, this is a decision and a lifestyle that I want to be a part of, and I'm positioning myself to do that. And so I just, over the time when I was working at EMC before I left, I said I want to build up my consulting to a point where I'm comfortable being able to step away and still have income, and so that's how I do it. So I have a couple clients I work with, and I get paid monthly, and it gives me some money to be able to continue doing what I'm doing, right? And bootstrap it and focus on building the business and not stress out as much about where's the money coming from and whatnot, and it just shows your level of hustle. I mean, that's it. And again, that goes back to what I was mentioning before, is there's a true discipline to being an entrepreneur.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, I mean, same here. Mass Challenge came in. I was like, you know what? Trip Buddy has been an idea for quite a while. If you want to do it, just jump it right now. I honestly do think it was the best decision I made, personally, because it has helped the company get to a point where it needed to go. Because if you look at what we do on a day-to-day basis, a lot of you guys see, I'm always on the phone. We're making phone calls. We're doing demos. There's no possible way for you to be able to keep a job, right? And be able to do that, because you'd be cheating your manager or you'd be cheating the company that you're working for. I think for us, the beginning was, for tech people or even non-tech people, the beginning is, I'm going to keep this job and build out this product. Because in the beginning, you don't have anything. There's nothing to sell, right? Just focus on building the product and keep the job. And then once you actually have something that's really solid, and it's like, we need to sell this thing now, and I need to be on the ground, and, then I think it just happens naturally. Just like, that's it. I'm going to jump out. Do you guys have any more questions?
How does it, or like the PaerPay affects the server customer experience at like a restaurant or something like that?
Yep, so it enhances the overall experience for the server, which is cool. So we don't do any ordering through our platform. We specifically want you ordering through the server there. Their studies show that when people actually spend money through these types of platforms, they end up spending more money. So we're seeing an increase in tip averages as well too, so more money for the server themselves.
They spend more money?
Correct.
But they're ordering through the server still?
Yes, but for the payment side of things. Right?
But why would they make any difference? Because, it's not like you're changing, I feel like your habits aren't changing that much, right? Because, the only difference in the experience of going to a restaurant before you pay that has PaerPay versus not having it is just scanning that code, right? Yep. That's like basically the only difference.
The biggest difference comes at the end of it, right?
Yeah.
So you're no longer waiting for the check and stuff like that. So with tipping, so for example, if you ever use like Square in their cash register, right? You go to a coffee shop and you go and you check out and they put the big, select your tip in front of you, right?
Yeah.
More often than not, people actually end up tipping than not tipping as a result of that. And so that's why they're seeing actually an increase in bill averages and tip averages and stuff like that through the technology. Gotcha. And so that's what we're kind of leveraging as well too. It's like, we default tip, of course you can change it as well, but most of the time when the people are presented with that, it's the same thing like you've seen with Lyft and Uber, right? They'll say, X amount of our customers are tipping, which is majority, because of just the user experience flow and all that stuff, which is pretty cool. But the biggest feedback that we've got from servers is that they actually feel like they have more time to spend with their customers. They're not frustrated with having to split the bill, especially for large parties. Especially some places will say, we can only split this bill 5 ways. And the reason why they do that is because splitting more ways than that it's complex and a pain in the butt, and they don't want to do it. With our platform, that same merchant can split the bill as many times as they want from the user side of things, and you're good to go, right? And so the merchants and the servers feel like it's removing some of their pain points and allows them to actually provide a better customer experience and be more high touch with the customer, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it was interesting when we started doing some research. We basically found that there's a disconnect. Is that when you're ready to leave the restaurant usually isn't ready for you to leave, right? For one reason or another. And that could be something where the server's still running around getting other orders or whatever it is, right? And then you feel like you're trapped. And that last 10-minute experience or 15-minute experience, whatever it is. I was talking to a guy today. He went out for the Bruins game, went to a bar, and he said he was stuck for a half hour waiting for the bill with 8 of his buddies.
It doesn't help that they even lost.
Yeah, right, exactly, right. And so it was even more frustrating. He said, "Man, I wish your app was ready. I'm working on it." And so allowing the customer to feel empowered without putting physical hardware in front of them to say, "Hey, check yourself out," it creates a better overall customer experience.
And are you worried that Toast or another big point of sale company is gonna try to wrench into that sector of the market, or?
Not really. There is concern, yes, because if we get big enough, but I think we actually get bought before they try competing. But kind of a couple of things. So we're partnering right now. We're partnered with NCR. We reached out and we've spoken with Toast already. So that's an integration that we're working with as well too.
NCR is Toast or
NCR is National Cash Register. They're the largest legacy point of sale system. So that's like Aloha.
Okay.
They're huge. They basically make, like, if you ever go to the airport and you see those self-service kiosks, NCR makes all of those.
Okay.
Yeah, they're huge.
Oh, the grocery store.
Yeah, the grocery store,
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. So so we got the biggest player right now. They are losing market share to cloud-based point of sale systems like Toast. So that's why the next one we want to integrate with is Toast. And they're raising money hand over fist. They're like it's ridiculous. I mean, every
Toast,
year they're raising 100 million, 200 million.
They're based in Boston, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I don't want to keep you. I think what we got, it's like around 4:06. Well, I think
No, that's fine. I'm running the clock. I'm charging you, so you can keep me as. I mean, this is actually a consulting gig, guys.
Yeah,
so
it is
he's,
consulted gig.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
$500 an hour.
Yeah.
I'll be billing to Trip Buddy.
Yeah, it's only if it goes over an hour, so I want to make sure it's 59 minutes so that he doesn't get I don't get billed. But thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
And
you can follow me at Derek Canton. You can find me on
Cut that
Facebook.
out.
Make sure you
Cut
like.
Alright, thanks. I appreciate
Is this recording?
Yeah.
Recording
it is.
this?
Yeah, it is.
Bloopers.
it. It's okay.
Can we get this in slow motion?